This is a show. I'm Brandedwolf. That's 7-Bit Brian, and this is Gamers Insight. Give or take or lie or two. And this is the first episode, so yay! Woo.
Woo!
Yeah, that's about it, right? Sounds good to me.
All right, that's a wrap. See you next time.
Yeah, right. Okay, we're
No,
good.
I'm
Yeah,
just playing.
that's 5 minutes. We're good. That's good, folks. I gotta go see a movie. All right, so let's start off with Brian. Introduce yourself.
I'm Brian, 7-Bit Brian. I am a gamer, hence the title Gamers Insight. I am also a YouTuber, and I like to think that I know everything, just not all at once.
Haha. And I am Branded Wolf. I've been gaming for way too long. I've been doing this for not long enough, apparently, because I barely got the scene together. I like to play games. I like to play a lot of games. I work full time, unfortunately, so I don't get all the time I want to get. But I want to stream more. I want to do more. So that's why we're starting this, and just this way we can talk and find things out and learn things out. And maybe, hey, people might actually watch. So who knows? So with that out of the way, Brian, what are you currently playing right now?
I am playing because I am an idiot. I like to play a lot of games at once. I'm playing No Man's Sky because the new patch has me back into it. I stopped playing for a while, but I'm back into that. And I'm still playing Guild Wars 2's new patch, and then I'm just playing around with a lot of indie games that I like to play with.
Oh, cool. Um, right about now, I really haven't had the time I wanted to play games, but what I have been playing right now has been for me dabbing back into Guild Wars 2 because I'm trying to figure out exactly what's going on with that because it's been like literally years since I touched that. And then I picked up Tyranny from Obsidian, which is a really good RPG. I mean, especially if you like the isometric RPG things. It's got the great lore, it's got the great chatting, the combat, the talking, and you play as basically a judge for the bad guy who won everything.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that because I haven't had a chance to pick up Tyranny, but I'm a huge fan of like the original Baldur's Gates games and the first game they made, Pillars of Eternity. I'm a huge fan, but I haven't had a chance to give it a shot yet.
Yeah, I put about maybe. Let's see, what does Steam say? Steam says I've played only 14 hours. And as far as I'm concerned, all I do is a prologue.
A 14-hour prologue.
Well, mind you, 4 hours of that was me trying to figure out what kind of character I wanted to make, right? Which I know is sad. But
Oh, so you're one of those 4-hour character creation ones.
yeah, it's like it's not graphics either because their system's very simple. And can I put out the male faces are all horrible as far as I'm concerned. They're just bad. But basically, what took me a while was just trying to figure out the background when to go with the guy because completely classless, so it's all skill based. But also your background, like say noble, soldier, what have you, affects your conversations in the game and also gives you certain stat bonuses. So I was going with that, going with the skill set when it started out, and then honestly, it's probably maybe good. I want to say because I did everything, the prologue had to be a good 8 hours, give or take, and that includes like the I can't remember what it's called. They call this thing for like you make choices, and this is like what you did during the battle, and that affects certain reputations and how certain people view you. And then after that, there's the actual gameplay. And like so far, I'm really digging it because I love games like this. It's like at the Baldur's Gate feel where the combats can be difficult, where you don't have to fight every battle. A lot of times you can talk your way out of it, or you get these choices because of where your stats are, and it feels great. But yeah, I've been digging that. I want to get back into that, and I just picked up like the only thing I actually bought for Black Friday was Rainbow Six Siege, so I've been playing that a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of people bought Rainbow Six Siege because it's back on the Steam's bestseller list. I actually wanted to go back there for a second, though. I'm very interested in the fact that Tyranny has like stats and different things like that tied to your background because games used to do that a long time ago. They used to do that a lot, but games have slowly gotten away from that. They've like taken that kind of stuff out of the hands of backgrounds so that you could select your stats and build your character you want and then select a background. And it really didn't have much effect on gameplay. And then eventually some games just got rid of backgrounds and things like that altogether. And now it looks like Tyranny's trying to bring that concept back.
Yeah, so the main thing with the backgrounds is they'll give you special like skill bonuses, right? That's the numerical advantage, skill bonuses, but it affects conversations. Like there's this thing like let's call it a werewolf. It isn't. It's some weird thing, but close enough. And I talked to her, and the options I had were a couple normal options. But if I had chosen like arena champion or hunter, which was then the hunter character's background is that you're half raised by them, so you're half child. Is I had two redded out, crossed out choices I could have had with her if I had taken one of those different backgrounds. So it gives you these abilities. Like I chose this guy Noble for right now, and like I had ability with a merchant going like, I see these fruits are kind of damaged. Where I come from, they actually cost this much. So you're gonna give me more money back, and you're gonna charge me less now, right? So that's like it's really nice how that's affected it. And there's three skill sets that are linked to in-game mechanics, but also to actual conversations. Um, One is athletics, which is conversations, basically intimidation. But in the game, you can use your athletics skill determines whether or not you can climb a rope or, like, say, push a rock out of your way. The next is lore. Lore determines basically how big a spell you can cast, if you can learn spells, and in conversations, what knowledge you have, which is really great for this character because you are basically judge, jury, and executioner. So sometimes having that lore, you have this obscure knowledge of this law under the evil overlord. So you can just like, yeah, well, this is this, and so suck it. And then the third one is, I want to say it's subterfuge, which is basically your sneaky skill or picklocking, but also your ability to lie people. And I honestly like I've been happy so far with the game. I may redo my characters simply because I wanted to go a different route, but I've been satisfied with the combat, the magic, the combo system, the companions, the story. It's been pretty good so far.
See, I'm just happy to hear that there's a developer bringing that type of customization back. Because as much as I love games like, for example, the great games, Dragon Age games, the Mass Effect games, the backgrounds and classes that you selected in those games had almost no effect on the gameplay. You could still do everything no matter what background or character you created. It didn't really affect the gameplay that much. It was just a personal choice on what you started with. So it made a very like homogeneous kind of experience for me because no matter what, they're all going to kind of play the same, very very similar. But with this, it seems like every playthrough could be literally a very different playthrough depending on the type of background that you have.
Yeah, basically it's going to affect the little things. Is how I look at it. I mean, I don't think it'll affect the overall bigger picture, but the little things you experience, like it's definitely why like right now I'm going with the noble, but I want to remake them to. I'll probably go either soldier or spell sword. I think it was just for that different kind of combination. Although the pit fighter one was kind of nice too. The background, just the background to the story, let alone just the skill points, but the backgrounds. And it's, for me, when I play RPGs like this, that inflects how I play that character. And so that's why like with this noble is like with this certain faction group, they're like, oh yeah, well we asked you to do this, but really it was a trap. We wanted to see what you react. And of the choices, you're like, oh that sucked, or how could you? One of the choices was literally athletic skill, such and such number, and punch them in the gut. I had enough numbers, so I just punched them in the gut, and they're like, I'm sorry, I won't do that again. Here, take this sword. And it's just, it's nice that you have that kind of choice and freedom in the game.
Yeah, that's actually really awesome. It makes me even more interested in the game than I already was. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm probably gonna. I was looking at it, but I wasn't sure if I was gonna buy it or just wait for a little while and try it when like some more content came out. But now I'm thinking I might actually pick that up. I think you convinced me.
Yeah, I'm hearing it's probably a good 40 plus hours depending. It depends on how many side quests you want to go on and how much because it's deep. Because like I keep finding side quests left and right, which I know I can ignore and just hit from the main story. But it's been I've been digging it.
Oh man, I'm the player who will try to do like every side quest and learn every bit of story and everything. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
all the lore and like
I'll,
you
I'll
effectively get your own
disappear
base
into a
too.
game.
Yeah, it's I definitely the story's gonna get you I think and the fact that it is basically the bad guy won and so you are one of you're basically the right hand of his right hand and his I can't remember his name but his right hand is basically like the judge the law and are you out there in the the lands you are judge jury executioner your word is law and so you can affect that in different ways. And I love there's a loyalty system, and then there's an infamy system. So this generates big factions, and also your companions and certain just characters. And so you get that loyalty, they just treat you differently, or you get the infamy, they treat you differently, and they don't always plus minus. Like in some games, you get, oh, I get loyalty, but I lose infamy, or I get infamy, I lose loyalty. And this one, it's a lot of times it's just like you're getting loyalty, oh, you're getting infamy, and they treat you differently. And it's nice so far. Like with the four different characters I've found, their background stories are so far really good. They mesh really interestingly well. I like it. Like I said, I'm really big about no classes. I love that it is all skill based, and it's like the more you use something, the more you learn, the more it goes up in XP. And like the magic system is what's really doing it for me, because it's a thing of like learn a core skill by off a scroll. So I say frost, right? And then the next part would be what it kind of does. Like, alright, so you add this part, and now it's a long range spell. You add this part though, and it's just a cone. And then there's a third part where it's like it does more damage or more range, or it takes less cooldown because there's no mana in the game. It's just all about cooldowns. And the more you tack on that spell, the higher lore it takes to cast it, though. And that's become like your really big wizard type guys are gonna have like really high lore and probably low physical stats. But yeah, Obsidian has me, man. They make great RPGs. I love their stuff, and the fact that Paradox is producing this, and I've really been a fan of Paradox's stuff, so it's like spot on for me. This will hold me over to the next Divinity.
It definitely sounds like a really good game, and like I said, I was a huge fan of Pillars of Eternity, so I'm probably gonna pick it up now.
Yeah, oh god, Pillars. I need to finish that one day. So that's pretty much what I've been playing lately. So how about we talk about what we want to talk about? I
All right,
say we start with the horse that's been beaten to death a lot, and we talk about No Man's Sky.
all right. Let's go ahead and jump right into this lion's den.
Yeah.
So, how much do you know
So
about the whole
yeah. So
everything that went down?
as a pre-voice, let's just say this: I don't own No Man's Sky. Once upon a time, I was hyped. I was interested in it, but certain things happened. I was like, and then I watched Mike's basically review of it, and I was like, oh. And I've learned certain things. I've seen a lot of the hype trains. Actual facts, I probably don't have a lot of actual facts. I just read a lot of what's online. I've looked at the latest video for this new update, and I have my personal opinions. But as someone who actually owns it and is more into it than I am, I'd rather hear what you have to say first and go from there.
Okay, so if we're just going to talk about the update in itself first, the update I think is a step in the right direction. It's not going to bring everybody back to the game. It doesn't solve the issues that some people had with the game, especially if you just don't like the general gameplay loop in the first place. But it does expand upon what's there, and it expands upon what the game has. It expands upon the game's strong points rather than its the failures that it had. They took those strong points and they tried to make them better and add new features on top of them. So I think it's a very, very good patch. I think it's a first step towards making this a great game. It's not going to be a great game yet. Right now, it's still just kind of an okay game, an iffy game. But I think this is a step in the right direction, and this shows just how hard they're working right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Personally, I watched like the Sony video on the patch. I looked. This is what we're adding: foundation. Uh huh. So you're building stuff. Uh huh. And there's the skeptic in me that ever asks. There's just the guy's like, you promise so much, and I get it's supposed to be your step in the right direction, but your step is I get to build bases, and that just leaves me going like, okay, you're doing something that's great, after months of not saying anything, which to me is the killer, but you're doing something awesome on you, but is it something that you should really be the first step? Because base building, I mean, is that really what their first step should have been? I mean, personally, I don't know how hard this would have been for them because I don't know the net code involved in the game itself. But multiplayer, I think, would have soothed more wounds than a base building.
Oh, I agree completely. I think personally want that to be their next update. I wanted it to be their first update, but it's not. I want them to work on the netcode, and this is never going to be like an online MMO type game. They've said that from the beginning, but there's nothing here that says that they can't create. Like, give me the option to create a private server where I can play online with 50 or 100 of my friends, and everybody else can create their own private servers, kind of like Minecraft out there. Maybe they can host some of their own servers, things like that. They could build that into the game, and it would add so much more replayability to it. But just to go on the actual base building, the base building itself isn't what makes this a step in the right direction. It's the foundations they laid into the game, the changes they made to the actual game itself that allowed base building to be added, that actually lays the foundations for what could be a good game in the future for me. Because yes, we have base building, but beyond that base building, they've edited the code to make the planets a lot more lively and realistic. There's the generation for both the planets themselves, the terrain, the animals, and the resources, and everything has been changed, and it comes up with much more interesting planets now. And they've added systems to the game that is almost like a questing system where, you can recruit NPCs to your base, and they'll send you to gather these resources, to find these blueprints, create this blueprint, do things like that. Though that you're getting a progression system where you can, okay, I can start with just these 10 things I can create, but I can progress through this for like the next 20-30 hours or so, and by the end of it, I can make like 500 different things. I can have my own freighter starship that I can fly and build a base within that starship. That's actually really cool. The freighters that you can buy, you can edit the interior of them and change like the layout of the ship. They've added a lot underneath that they didn't really highlight in that video, and I think they should have focused more on those things than just the base building itself. The base building is what makes it look pretty, but the underlying code and how these things work is what makes it work.
Okay, yeah, and I can feel you with that. It's just to me, it's just like, oh, okay, so I'm building bases, and I'm like, I watched the video and it's like, well, this is fancy and this is pretty. Like, I will not deny No Man's Sky is pretty. It has that nice look to it. And then they're talking about, oh, here's this freighter thing. That's cool. And like, how deep into the game do I have to get money wise or craft wise or skill wise to even get the freighter or to build stuff? I mean, like, they're just like flopping down walls and stuff, but I think this is like a lot of mats and resources to make this stuff, right?
Yeah, it depends on what you want to make and what game mode that you start off in, because they have the best thing they did, in my opinion, is they created 3 different game modes. We used to have one game mode, you just played the game and that was it. Now that game mode is normal game mode. It has all of the new features in it, but then we also have creative mode where there is no resource cost. You just do what you want. It's just like Minecraft creative mode. And then you have survival mode where it makes resources spawn less. It makes you take more damage. It makes sentinels and any kind of fauna out there more likely to be aggressive toward you. It just makes the whole gaming experience harder, and it truly is a survival experience. And that's one thing I will give them. A lot of games that claim they're creating a survival mode, it's not really that much of a survival mode. It's pretty easy to survive. No Man's Sky's survival mode, no. It's hardcore. You will die quick.
Okay, well that's good to hear, because I remember one of the complaints I was hearing is that you it's hard to die. You just can go around and you just do whatever, and really you'd have to actually try hard to die in the game.
Oh yeah, in the normal game mode, basically if you died, you did something extremely stupid, or you tried to die. In the actual survival mode, it's like if you mess up and do one thing wrong or mismanage your resources wrong and didn't plan ahead and have enough resources for your ship or something like that, you will die, period, because you won't find any others to recharge your life support, or you'll land on a planet that's overrun by hostile fauna, and they will just attack you until you die. So it adds some layers to the game, most definitely. They still have a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of complaints about this game, and a lot of those complaints are still very valid. But this does take the game in a step in the right direction, in my opinion. It's not going to bring everybody back. It hasn't brought everybody back, but it has done a very good job, because it's brought enough people back that No Man's Sky is again on this Steam top sellers list. Over this sale, and over this weekend that this release came out, it is back on the top sellers list on Steam.
Yeah, I noticed that. And it's like one day I might pick it up again once I see some more patches. But I think the thing that kind of hits me about the game, and I've got a lot of issues. That's just me because I'm a picky bastard. But the fact that it still has a $60 price tag, and it's just like after everything that happened, after all your refunds and stuff, PR wise, I think it'd be a good bet. Just like, all right, let's slash it $20 and see what happens. Like I think they'll pick up more people. Obviously, the patches and getting the foundation going and doing what they said they were going to do in the beginning, rolling that out and having better PR, better like talking at least once a week. I'd say like an AMA or just something, some newsletters out there is going to help patch up things. But I honestly think too, reducing the price of the game because I think that's what one of the things that really made people go like, really, this is what you get. I paid $60 for a AAA game, and you're giving me this indie game which didn't do half of what it said it was going to do.
Oh yeah, I felt that from the beginning. I bought the game for $60, and for the most part, just because I'm that type of gamer, I'm the weirdo that will just travel around and do nothing but take pictures. For the most part, I was happy with my purchase, but I can see how this game is not worth $60 for most people. In my opinion, the game should have released, even with this update and everything included, it should have released at like either $19.99 or $29.99. That would be a perfect price point in my opinion. I think it would have had a lot less controversy surrounding it had that been the case. I still think that's the case. I still don't think it's a game worth $60. To me personally, yeah, I got my money's worth. But just looking at the average gamer and is this a game worth $60? No, it's still not there. I think it's going to get there. I think they're working on it. They're getting it in the right direction. But I also think they should go ahead and slash this price. They did have a sale, like right on, it was either Cyber Monday or Black Friday, one of the two, where they knocked it down just for that day. But I think they just need to knock the price down, period.
Yeah, yeah. The discount's on Steam right now. It's going for 36, but to me, it's like. But overall, you're saying though that the new patch definitely helps it get in the right direction, right?
Yeah, basically the new patch it does a little to address some of the game's weaknesses. Like I said, the terrain and planetary generation has been tweaked, and that's made it better. And that was one of the game's weaknesses. But for the most part, it builds on what strengths the game did have, and it expands upon those and gives you more. So it makes those weaknesses stand out less now, but they're still there. So they need to do what they can to continue to expand upon these strengths that the game has, the exploration, the fun and sheer joy of it. But they also need to do what they can to work on those weaknesses and also try to deliver on some of those, I won't call them promises, but some of those almost advertised things that they mentioned before. I mean, you can find like 5 or 6 different interviews where Sean Murray was talking about the game had multiplayer. You can also find 5 or 6 interviews where he was saying it didn't have multiplayer, which goes to show you how bad at communication they are. And that's the number one thing I think they need to work on is their communication, because it is just not good. Now, I've read stories from people that work with Sean Murray that says that that's the type of person he is, like for the silence, because the type of like worker he is and the type of leader he is when they go into like crunch mode, which they've been for this patch, it's just all work, no communication. Let's get it done. We'll communicate afterwards. That's the type of person he is, which is fine, but that's not going to work for a company standpoint. That's not going to work from a PR standpoint. He's going to have to communicate.
Yeah, and I think the hardest thing for me to grasp is that Sony picked them up. Sony gave them this offer, this contract, and we're going to do this. And as far as I know, Sony, I'm assuming Sony gave them a PR person to work with them. But it's just such a PR nightmare. It's just, I don't know who I feel worse for. The PR people for this, the game, or whoever the PR people was for Trump and when he said all the stupid shit he said.
I mean, it's almost comparable. But yeah, there was a Sony PR guy, because there was you can find certain interviews where Sean Murray was starting to say certain things, and a PR guy from Sony came out and said, no, we can't talk about this right now. But then there's all these other things that they just let him run off with, where he was clearly talking about this is his vision for the game eventually, not at launch, but he didn't say that well at all. The way he said it is, hey, this is in the game, and the PR guy just let it go, like, yep, that's cool, let it fly.
Yeah, especially on a what was it? He was on Conan O'Brien, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was on Conan, and he's also on Colbert, I think.
Yeah, that was of all places to say those things. But I mean, it's nice to see that they're finally doing something. I personally think it's kind of day late, dollar short. especially because of the communication. But like I said, it's nice to see them doing things, but I want less. I do want the updates from them. I mean, especially if I ever buy the game. But I think they definitely need to get a handle on the communication. Like there should be weekly communication at this point, because I think that's what burnt so many bridges with them. Was that?
Oh, I agree completely because there was a lot of people that were still having fun with the game or were okay with what we got as long as it got expanded. But then we got silence for almost 3 months straight, and that just made so many people angry. And I can understand Sean Murray's point of view. He just wanted to do the work and then let the work speak for itself. But in today's business world, when you're a company like this and you're putting out a product like this, you have consumers, you can't let that be your PR policy. It's not going to work, especially after the disaster that was the PR policy leading up to the game. You have to speak with your consumers and speak with your user base. And I'm hoping moving forward that they do that a little bit more and more and learn about that. But I guess we shall see. The other big news out of No Man's Sky is, I don't know if you knew about this, but they were actually, them and Valve, Steam, were both being investigated by the Advertising Standards Authority, which is over in England, for false advertisement claims, right?
Yeah, I
Because
heard about
apparently
that
a
for
bunch
No
of
Man's
people,
Sky. Yeah.
yeah, but apparently a bunch of people were saying that the Steam page and what was put out there was considered false advertisement. They've actually been cleared by the ASA. The ASA says none of it was false advertisement. What you see in the videos is showing, the possibilities in the game. And I kind of agree with the points they're making here. There's quite a few news stories just came out today, so you can Google and search them. But it's key here to note that they don't consider things like the Conan O'Brien interview and things like that as advertising. That's not official advertising. That's you talking with someone about a product. That's not you advertising a product. So the things Sean Murray said there, which were very confusing, because it seems like he was talking about the future of the game and what they want to get into it eventually, years down the road. But the way he mentioned it was like, it's in the game now, we'll have it at launch, and it never was. They don't consider that advertising. That's just him talking about the game.
Ouch. Well, I mean, at least they got through the legal stuff, so I guess that's a good point for them.
Yeah, that's definitely good for them, because there's also the possibility of, while they were being sued and investigated, they weren't allowed to talk about it. So maybe now Sean Murray can actually accept an interview and talk about how he messed up, why he messed up, and what he's going to do to fix it. Because that is a possibility. Sometimes when you're being sued, they have it in there that you're just not allowed to talk about it until it's done. But this ruling is not going to make a lot of people happy, because while I get it and it makes sense, it's not addressing the factors that a lot of people pulled their where they got upset from. They're getting upset because Sean Murray talked about these things on Conan, and this doesn't address that at all, because this says that's not an advertisement, it doesn't count. So there's still going to be people mad about, well, he talked about this and it's still not in the game. It doesn't address that at all.
Yeah, I think no matter what happens here on out with them, it's just there's always gonna be people mad just because of how it all went down and because it's such a hype train. But I wish them nothing but the best and to get better. Because I mean, a game like this could be really great. I mean, for a lot of people, it is great. I mean, I know I have some friends on Twitter who are just like, "Oh, it's fun for me. I enjoy it. I go around and I do stuff." It's not what everybody wanted, but I mean, at least it got released, which is more than I can say for a couple other space games at the moment.
Yeah, the best thing I could say about No Man's Sky is it's not a bad game. There's a lot of people that'll tell you it's a bad game. It is nowhere near a bad game. It is not a great game. It's a decent game right now, but it's not a bad game. It was badly advertised and badly communicated, like horribly. But the game itself, it's not. If you like this type of game and the general gameplay loop that you get out of this, you will enjoy it. If you're into games like Minecraft and things like that, this game has some appeal for you. Not as much as Minecraft, because it's not as developed as Minecraft, obviously. Hopefully it'll get there one day. But it's not, I wouldn't call it a bad game. I would just say the way this game was hyped and advertised and talked about before and after, or rather the lack of talking about, that's what's bad. The game itself, okay.
Okay, good. So going from one space game that's trying to get its rocket launchers going to the other space game that's been going around for a few years, give or take a lie, and actually pretty much knows what it's doing with PR. Let's talk about Eve Online.
Eve, wow, yeah. Eve's been around for over 10 years now.
Yeah, a few years. Yeah, yeah.
Just a few.
Yeah. I played it back in the day. I think I looked at my account recently. I think last time I was playing, I was 2008. So yeah, it's been a while for me. But the recent update introduced a new free-to-play option, and I know you've touched on that. So why don't you give us some insight into that?
Yeah, if anybody's wondering why this is a discussion topic, it's because Eve went free to play. It's an MMO game that has been pay to play for over 10 years now, and they've offered a free to play option now, which is very huge. And they didn't really advertise it at all. There was no advertising money spent, like putting out commercials on YouTube or putting out any like advertisement on sites like massivelyop.com, anything like that. But since they've launched this free to play, they have gained let's say a lot of concurrent users that have stuck around. So you look at the game before this free-to-play option went into account, they were averaging around 25,000 people logged on concurrently. So that means at the same time every day, right? So there's usually around 25,000 people, and sometimes it jumped up above 30K, but most of the time there was about 25K people on. With the launch of the free-to-play accounts, it got over 50K, which is great, but you say, okay, a lot of people are going to try it out and then they'll leave. It doesn't look like they're leaving. It's been out for about 3 weeks now, and we're maintaining 35 to 45K, even jumping back up above 50K here and there. It's maintaining about 10,000 more people online at all times. So that's 24/7. So that, again, that's concurrent players. So that's not just the number of people that are playing the game. That's the number of people that are playing the game at this current second. So that's a lot of traffic and new players and new content because of the type of game that Eve is. That's a lot of new content that has just been injected into this game, and it's made a lot of people happy.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers don't lie when you talk about that kind of stuff, and like, advertising wise, right? There wasn't a lot out. Like I noticed there's a thing on Steam, and then I saw something on Twitter. I was like, huh? Let me see about this, and the numbers are good for it. I haven't had a chance to grab back in. I'm gonna try either tonight or tomorrow. But from what I've been hearing from a few people, like the tutorial has been improved, which is good. Cause I remember the original tutorial I had back in 2008. It wasn't great, it wasn't bad, but it could have been better. And especially with a game like Eve, which can be very difficult. It can have a steep learning curve, as far as I'm concerned. Especially because it's so. I don't want to say it's PvP based, but it can be at times. And then it's very freeform in what you can kind of do once you learn what to do. And I read up on what they're doing for what they're calling the alpha pods, I believe, which is for people who are free to play.
Yes.
And I like the restrictions because there's restrictions on there. And with a game like Eve, you have to have restrictions for any kind of free to play thing because there are so many corporations, what they call guilds and that, and other things which would take advantage of a free to play. They would like use swarms and other stuff just to win sectors, and I could see that happening. But with these restrictions, they can't fly certain vessels and stuff, which is good as far as I'm concerned, because it's a good way to get a taste of the game from what I'm seeing. Like, mind you, I haven't played yet, but and see whether or not it's actually something you want to put your money into. Because that I think was one of the biggest barriers for a lot of people for Eve. Like, it looks pretty, I kind of want to play it, but do I want a monthly MMO bill I want to pay?
Yeah, it's definitely removed that barrier for a lot of people, and the new player experience that they added here has removed some of that learning curve. That's a problem Eve has had for a long time. It used to have no tutorial system whatsoever. It just dropped you in the game, and you just had to figure it out. They've tried like 2 or 3 different tutorial systems before, and they weren't that good because they were very, very basic, and the tutorial systems themselves were built by people who played the game a lot, so they overlooked a lot of things and assumed players understood this automatically when they didn't. This new experience isn't as bad. It's much better. It's voiced. It draws you in with an actual story now, and it doesn't treat you like you've played the game before and you know what's going on. It does actually hold your hand and guide you through it and give you a look of what this game actually is. And then it actually sends you out there with a goal. It doesn't just drop you in and say, okay, we're done. now do whatever you want. It actually eases you into it with a few goals that it gives you. So it makes that what I would call, it wasn't really a learning curve before. It was more like a learning wall. Now it's actually a curve again. And it makes the game that much more accessible to other players out there. And again, the actual free-to-play experience with the restrictions, I would say this is one of the better free-to-play experiences with the restrictions out there. Some people are comparing it to like the World of Warcraft Unlimited trial. I don't exactly agree with that. World of Warcraft Unlimited Trial, you can get to like what, level 20? So you can try just a very, very few things in the game. That's kind of like dipping your if the content of the game is a pool. For the World of Warcraft, when you're dipping your toes in there, right? In Eve, what this allows you to do, this is more like you're wading into the pool. You can't dive fully in, but you're wading in. You're getting to experience every aspect of the game, just not on the largest and craziest scale. You can't do that in a Titan, but you can do it in a frigate. So it allows you to get a taste of every aspect of the game, just enough to make you get hooked and find some people that you really want to play with and convince you, okay, now I need to subscribe. I think it's one of the better free-to-play experiences out there because it allows you to do things. It doesn't put up a bunch of invisible barriers and things like that. It allows you to just go out there and do what you want. It's seamless, so if you stop paying, it just drops back down. You don't lose anything. It's just those skills are no longer active until you start paying again. So you can go back and forth between the game, and it encourages you to get into the fight, learn these things, and do these things. And it then encourages you in a not what's the word I want to use here? Not sketchy or I don't know. A game like Star Wars: The Old Republic. I love that game, but when it went free to play, it basically said either you sub or we're gonna treat you like secondhand trash. You know what I mean? So the reason to sub was to not be trash, right? It was a they were looking down on you. And Eve, that's not the point. The reason to sub is to do even more and get even better. They're not looking down on you. You can still do all these great things. You can still be just as successful as someone who is paying. And there's already stories out there of players who are. There's a player who was in the game for 3 days and was already out in the null security section of the space, where you can players can own stations and do things like that, and they were participating in giant fleet battles, taking down like Titans and things like that within 3 days of playing the game on an alpha account with those restrictions.
That's actually really good to hear. And yeah, I agree with your analogy. Like, I think one of the worst free to plays ever done is Star Wars. I mean, I love the game. I keep going back to it every now and again as a sub because any MMO that has a lot of buttons and it's going to say, "Oh, just have 2 hotbars, you're good." Just that's fine. You don't need more hotbars. No, I want all my hotbars. I want all of them. I want 12. You gave me like 20, 30 different skills. Give me more hotbars. So it's nice to see that Eve isn't restricting stuff as much and that you can do it. You know.
Yeah, I guess the thing I would highlight there, or a better way to highlight it and say it, is a game like Star Wars: The Old Republic. Not as much as it used to, but still, in a lot of other free-to-play games, they punish you for not being subscribed. So it's not you're getting rewarded for subscribing. That's the normal experience. And if you're not subscribing, you're being punished. In Eve, they've created this alpha like it's the normal experience, and then if you subscribe, you're then being rewarded for it. So it's a little bit of a difference there.
That's good to hear. I'm glad that they're doing that. I think it's got to help them because I mean, if there's one thing I'll give the guys who run Eve and stuff is that I've seen that they reach out to the community. They work with the community. I mean, there's like a council I think of like voted in and stuff if I remember correctly. So they're very much a community, especially because it's like all one server, I think, right? So it's all interconnected.
Yeah. Eve is all one server. So when there's 50,000 people online right now, those you could run into all 50,000 of those people because there is no other servers unless you go to China. There's the Chinese server because they're not allowed to play with us because of their laws.
Yeah.
But that's with any game, right?
Yeah.
But and yes, they do have the player council. It's called the council of stellar management, which is elected by players like myself. A player like myself could campaign and be elected to that, and that would give me the option to work with CCP to be a voice of the players to help with the development, let them know what the players think of these features, what we want for the future, things like that. They are very, very, very dedicated to their community, probably a lot more than any other MMO developer I have ever seen.
That's good to hear. I'm glad that they're moving forward with that stuff because it's a good game. Honestly, it's a game like I do want to go back and try it out again. I think the biggest downside for me was paying a monthly fee when I had so many other MMOs that want to be monthly fees, and the fact that to me one of the bigger curves when it comes to Eve is like you come in as a new guy and you see all these older guys, who've been there for a while, and since all the skills are time based, they have all these skills, and you're just like, I'm just me, I can't do anything. But the reality of Eve is you can do things on a little account without all the skills. You just got to be up with other people and know what you're doing to the most part. But it's
Yeah,
good to see they're doing this.
it's for Eve. That's a lot of people don't understand that. They're thinking this person's always going to be more powerful than me. But for Eve, there are skill caps. There are things like, yes, this person has a million more skill points than you, but those million more skill points that he has are all affecting other ships, not the ship both of you are flying. If the skills that affect this ship, there's only so many skills that affect that ship, and you can train up just as many as he trained up in the same amount of time. It only takes a few months, and now you're both just as effective in that ship as each other. He might have been playing for 5 years, you might have been playing for 3 months, but you're just as effective in that ship. The only difference is he now has more options because he's trained longer. So the longer you're in the game, you'll get more and more options. That's where Eve comes in there. And if you're going to start again, I would suggest starting a new account, signing up with a new email, because I don't know why they did this. This is the one downside that I have here. If you have an account right now and you've played the game before, you don't get the new player experience. You still get the old one. It just drops you in the game and lets you do what you want. They created the new player experience only for brand new accounts right now. I think they're trying to combat some like insider trading and things like that, because it does give you like skill injectors, like free skills and things like that. So maybe that's the reason behind it. But I think they should play with that some, because there's returning players that aren't going to be able to experience that, and that's going to be a turnoff by itself right there. So I think they should work on that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. Because like for me, like I do want to play again, but I'll make a new account simply because I can use my old account, but I don't remember anything. So I kind of need that tutorial at the moment, just because I'm like, huh?
I mean, honestly, I think everyone, whether or not you're returning to the game and or brand new to the game, and whether or not you want to go through, like you need the tutorial, I think everybody should create a brand new account just long enough to experience that new story that's in there, because it's fully voiced and it's actually very, very, very well done. It's some very good voice acting, and it's a very good story. Because Eve does have lore behind it. Yes, a lot of the lore is driven by the players themselves in Eve, but it has its own lore as well. And they're trying to combine that lore with the player lore. They're doing a really good job of it, and it's an exceptional story for Eve Online. I think everybody, if you're going to try out the game, try out that story. Don't just return to your old account. You can go to your old account afterwards, but make a new one and try out that story.
That's good to hear. I'm glad that Eve's doing good because I think it's a good game, and to see it lasting and keep doing more, it's nice. But changing topics, going from one MMO to the other, let's talk about Guild Wars 2. Because recently, let's call it a Black Friday sale, give or take a lie or two. They had Hearts of Thorns, right? Yeah, Hearts of Thorns for like
Yeah,
half
Heart of
off.
Thorns.
And I've been like, oh, I don't know. I kind of want to get back to it because, again, another MMO that I dropped years ago, and I there's a part of me that definitely misses and is kind of upset that I never did any of the story stuff, like the living story when that happened out with Scarlet and stuff, because I wanted to be a part of that, but I just, one day I'll get back to it. So I missed a lot of stuff. But with it being half off, I said, why not give it a try? You were definitely a ringing endorsement for it, so I said, why not? So I'm back to playing that again, and I'm still confused as hell. But, I spent some money, I'm trying some things out. I haven't used a character boost yet, because I don't know if I really want to. I mean, I probably do to get it level 80, but at the same time, there's so much I've missed, because, I'm only at 22.
Go ahead and use it. I will go ahead and tell you that they created their character boost to be exceptional and awesome. I guess I don't know how to describe it. You can use you create a new character, use the level 80 character boost on it. It puts you in the Silver Waste zone, which was a Living World zone, right? That they added with the Living World patches, and you're allowed to run around. It gives you like free gear and free builds and everything like that, and you can run around and try that character at level 80 and see how you like it. If you don't like it, you can talk to an NPC, refund the level 80 boost, and then go try it on another character. Or you can, if you do like it, you can talk to the NPC and say, okay, this is the one I want to pick, make it permanent. Okay, so you can't leave the zone with that level 80 without making it permanent, but you can go try it on every single class.
I definitely might do that then, because I know one of the things I'm thinking about making is the Necromancer, just because I'm feeling it's probably one of the better soloing classes, which is me most of the days in MMOs. Plus, it's a Necromancer.
Necros are actually very strong in solo and group play right now, so yeah, that's a solid choice.
Yeah. So for me, I'll drop one of those and then eventually go back to my Elementalist, because I'm really loving the crap out of him, but I don't know if I really want to feel like leveling him at the moment, because just all those weapons and then the 4 different elements, it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, Elementalist is a high skill cap profession to play. Like Warrior can be very, very good, but it's not as hard to get very, very good as it is with like a with like an Elementalist. So the difference is there is like an Elementalist can be amazing, but it's really hard to be amazing, right? Or if you suck at them, you just suck, right? And then Warrior can be amazing, and it's not that hard to be amazing, and it's kind of hard to suck at them as well. It's really hard to mess up a Warrior unless you're just horrible at the game. So there's the different tiers of play there. I'd say the hardest class to play, though, if you want to play effectively, and they're kind of not meta right now, but if you want to play effectively, the hardest class to play, the hardest rotations to understand is probably, a lot of people would say something like Mesmer or whatever, but that's just because they've never played an Engineer with the skill shots you have to do with an Engineer and the grenade throws and the constantly switching between kits. That one's just over the top. I love playing Engineer, but sometimes it's just too much for me.
Yeah, I remember because I played the beta so long ago, and I remember trying everything. Like, oh, this is fun. Oh, this is fun. This is fun. But it's just like I remember sticking with the Elementalist, and that's the guy I leveled up the most because I enjoyed him, and my Ranger. Just because the Ranger is awesome. He was a Norn Ranger, the big bushy beard, and pets. You could have all the pets. It was great. But yeah, no, I mean, but. Not only was it on sale, but they had the newest patch, right?
Yeah, they just released the next Living World patch, which they're doing amazing, by the way. Like the first year, they were doing the Living World season 1, where stuff supposedly came out every 2 weeks. It didn't always release every 2 weeks, but it also went away, so it was really, really strange, and a lot of people didn't like that because you had to rush to get things done. And then season 2 was a really good season, but it also didn't release every 2 weeks or anything like that. This season, they're coming out with these new story expansions, right? So it gives you about 2 hours or so of story every time they release the expansion. But they're also releasing a new map with each one, and they're coming out with one every 2 to 3 months. Literally every 2 to 3 months, you get a whole new map, new story, and all these new rewards to earn and new things to do. And it's actually really, really impressive how they're able to get this content out there at this pace. And apparently they've got it like down pat right now because they have multiple teams working on this on like 6-month cycles. So while this one was just released, the next one that's being released was being worked on like 6 months ago. So everything's going out, and they've got like the release cadence down pat here, and what they're releasing is actually really, really good. The latest map that they put in is probably it's probably my second favorite Living World map they've ever put in, just because I like the season 2 Silver Waste map. Just I'll always love that map, mainly because of the music. But this map, it takes what they did with the previous maps, introducing hearts into the game again. Because hearts hadn't been in the game since the original release. They stopped putting them in the game. They weren't in the expansion. They weren't in Living World or anything like that. But they started adding them back in with the last 2 maps, and it takes that idea and expands upon it and makes it better in this map than it did in the previous map. And it's just a really, really fun map, and it expands a lot about the game. I don't really know what else to say. It's just like if you haven't tried this map, go to it. You will fall in love with it.
That's good. I like that. I mean, it's I noticed like I was looking at the in-game store, right? I was looking at different things. It's like yeah, I need to buy things because I don't have enough inventory space. I don't have enough bank space. But it's cheap enough money. I don't mind spending on a game like that anyways because it's all shared bank space. But I was looking at stuff. I was like, okay, so I can, if I decide to spend money, go back and play the older stuff, except for like the Scarlet stuff. It looks like. But it looks like if I spend money, I can go back and play the living story that happened before, and like that matters to me because I bought the game when it came out, and I missed the living story stuff because I didn't play it. But the fact that I can actually spend a couple more bucks, whatever it is, and go back and play it, that's nice. I like that. I mean, not just for whatever gears there, but for the content and the story, which I think is nice.
Yeah, the season two stuff that you can buy is excellent story. It's very very well done. So I would definitely suggest getting a hold of that. And season two and season three are both the same way. Basically, if you log in while they're brand new, during the first few months they're brand new, like the the patch right now, you get it for free. You won't have to pay for it. Basically, so for this season two, three stuff that we're on right now, the new patch, you won't have to pay for that. Season two, you never logged in, so you'll have to pay for that.
Yeah.
But at the very least, even if you quit playing the game, you're just giving it a break for a while. At the very least, I would suggest for players, once the new patch comes out, log in long enough just to unlock that. Literally, you log in, it says you unlocked it, you log out, you're done, so you won't have to purchase that stuff in the future. And then when you do come back to the game, you can then play that.
Yeah, I definitely, like I said, I appreciate that, and it's nice, and it is. Guild Wars is a different. To me, Guild Wars 2 is a different paced MMO than what I'm used to most things, which is why sometimes it's hard for me to get into. Like some days I log in like, I can't. Other days I'm like, this is good, let's roll, let's just do stuff because it's definitely to me it feels like a slower paced game combat wise. But I love the skills, I love the combat, I love the story, and I just love how they have things set up.
So that's where I'll agree with you for the most part because I'm like that as well. That's why I play multiple games. That's why I'm still playing Eve. I'm still playing No Man's Sky. I'm still playing Guild Wars 2. I've played all three of those this week plus some other games. I'm weird like that. But and Guild Wars 2 is very casual friendly and does start off very slow. But then you have what they've added fractals and they've added raids into the game where it actually it for difficulty wise and the pace of combat and things like that you were talking about, I'd say the game scales very very well because when you're first leveling in the game, it's not that hard. It's pretty simple. It's not too frantic or anything like that, right? And then you get to like the end game type things you can do, farming certain maps and certain event chains and things like that. That's a little bit more than the original experience. And then you get into dungeons, which are not that hard right now, but if you've never played the game, they're a step up in difficulty and the type of content that you're looking at, the pace of the content as well. And then you can get into like things like fractals, which step up in difficulty as you go through them. There's 100 levels of fractals. As a fresh level 80, you can go into the first 1 to 20 levels of fractals and survive. You're going to have to learn and get better, but pushing beyond that, you're not going to survive unless you upgrade and learn and get better to get to the level 100 fractals. And then once you get to the level 100 fractals, the type of content that you're looking at there is almost comparable, like just underneath raid content. And when I say raid content, I mean this is the type of content that takes coordination just like the raids in World of Warcraft. So you have that scalability of what you want to play, how complicated you want to be, and the game gives you the option to work through it. You can start right at the bottom and then work yourself all the way up to raids, and I really like that about the game. I know a lot of people were upset when they added raids and fractals and things like that, but I think it just adds more scalability to the game, and it adds a natural progression for the type of players that want to go that far. You don't have to go that far. You can jump off of it at any point, but I think it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I'm glad they added raids and stuff because I think you can't have like I'm sorry, to my point of view, you can't have any kind of MMO like this without you're obviously going to have dungeons, and eventually you're going to have some sort of content that's like for the higher end people for raiding and stuff, because you will have people who are in there to raid or do stuff who want that coordinated effort. And if you don't get that, you're gonna miss part of your hardcore audience. But it's nice to see that they've actually included that. I mean, I love, like I said, the game itself is great. The story is fine. I love the holiday stuff they do. It's always fun. The crafting's fun. Once I actually get back into it and try to create shit again.
And to jump back on top of that, the game they don't like this patch. I've talked a lot about the new map and the new stories. That's not all that was released with this patch. They have different game modes and they keep expanding upon those things. It's not just that's been released and it's not being expanded upon anymore. Just with the last patch, we've got a new PvP path. Not with this one, but the one before it. Before the patch before that, we got a new PvP map. So we've gotten 2 new PvP maps. We've also, with this patch, got a new Fractal Nightmare dungeon, and it also came with like this challenge mode that makes it extremely like the most difficult. Some of the most difficult content in the game, like it's comparable to raid content, but it's in the Fractal dungeon content. So a lot of people are like. And it comes with great rewards, so a lot of people are really enjoying that right now, and if people are using it as a stepping stone to get their raids as well. So they're updating these other aspects of the game along with the living story. It's not just the one focus of the game. And then you still have the world versus world updates that they're working on. I don't play a lot of that myself personally, so I'm not big on it. I don't know all the news behind it, but all of this is being developed and released, in tandem. Sometimes, it'll be released at the same time. We just got the Living World update and the Fractal at the same time, and we got PvP and a Living World at the same time. Sometimes they'll be separate, and we'll get a PvP map just by itself, or we'll get a World versus World update just by itself. But they're continuing to develop and release for every single aspect of their game. They're not leaving really anything behind.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad that yeah, because I remember briefly that when I was playing it, is because I was playing with the Triple B guild and stuff, that they were doing like a lot of road versus road, and that was fun. Although back then my computer was really crappy and my frame rate went to crap, but it's all very pretty now and it plays, and so I definitely, this is another game I want to get back into doing more with. And I think we're almost done. But let's talk about one more thing that just happened recently. Let's talk about, well, we talked about Black Friday and stuff, but that's all over the map. But let's talk about instead the Steam Autumn Sale that happened. Um, it was okay. It's what I expect from Steam. I'm sure in a couple weeks there'll be the Steam Winter Sale. But they added a few new things to it. The whole Steam Award thing, which I thought was
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to talk about that because that was just interesting to say the least to me. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, no, it's. I'll be honest. I went through. I did nominate games. The only reason I nominated them is because I wanted another badge. Let's be honest. But I mean, there are some interesting categories they came up with themselves. I mean, I'm not sure if they'll announce who win for what because I haven't seen anything yet. But I mean,
The way it works, we were supposed to nominate games during this patch, and then when the winter sale starts, which is supposed to be sometime in December, that's where we actually vote for the winners, and they'll actually announce the winners.
oh, is that what they're doing? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the way it works, if I understood it correctly. But I just found the whole concept of these coming out with the Steam coming out with these awards and the categories themselves. Some of them were like hilarious. I'm sorry, I was just like, what? What? Really? That's a category?
Yeah, amazingly, I was able to find something for all those games. Like best use of farm animal, I went with Armello because there's animals in it. But I mean, no, I mean I could have easily went with Stardew Valley. But yeah, no, some of those, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. This whole autumn sale has been like very, very interesting to me because something else I'm going to mention here in a second. But because of these these awards here, I'm just wondering. It's brilliant. Believe me, it's brilliant. It had so many people talking about it. It got so many more people onto Steam to see the sales that were going on. So they definitely made money. But I'm wondering if they're going to do this every year from now because there's nothing in the announcement that says that's going to happen. It just says this is the Steam Awards and. It doesn't say they're going to continue to do this. I hope they do because it's absolutely hilarious, and I think it just it adds a little something to the experience on Steam. They've already kind of gamified the Steam experience anyway because you can like earn badges and experience and trading cards and things like that. So this just further adds to that.
Yeah, I think part of it's, I gotta say, part of it's just Valve trying to figure out how they want to do sales. Because for a good while, it was always like, do this, and a lot of people, I think, just, what's the word I'm looking for? The people abuse the system. There's a lot of abuse for like years past sales, like, oh, do all this, and people just abuse the crap out of it. And so then like they kept trying to find different ways to do sales, and maybe this is the way they stick with on the year-end sale to get like the awards and stuff like that. But for like the last couple of sales, like it's just been like, hey, this one's on sale, buy it if you want it. And I kind of missed the hourly, like the 4-hour sales and stuff. Like they kind of changed that up a lot.
Yeah, they changed up what they're doing and how they're putting the sales in there, and they redid the storefront. I don't know if you noticed that. I actually like the new storefront. I think it looks a lot better, and it's personalized now to like the type of games you own and what you're looking at and what you have as followed. So I think that's a good update. And I don't know, Valve is always going to be tweaking things. They're a behemoth, but they're not just going to let themselves stagnate and be like, oh, we're doing good, so we're not going to develop any further. They're always going to try to expand Steam and make it better and better and make more and more money. That's just the type of developer they are. And there's always going to be people that try to game the system. I mean, I don't know. I've kind of gamed the system, I guess, a little bit. I don't know. I earn trading cards in games for playing the game, like certain games that I play on Steam, and then I sell those trading cards to people who want to buy them for some reason and save up the money and then buy a new game. I've bought like 6 games this year. Not like AAA titled games, but 6 like indie games that I wanted to buy just off Steam trading cards. And some of those trading cards, like I've earned it by playing the game, and then once you earn it, you can't earn it again, right? But when I sell it, it shows that I don't own that anymore. So when I play the game again, I earn it again, and then I sell it again. So
It's kind of, I know for a lot of people, I think it's got to be like they're just collecting to get the badges, or who knows why they're collecting them. But yeah, some of these cards, like I know I have a friend who does the same thing, or I know people who probably just go AFK on a game, leave it running, just to get cards. And
I haven't done that yet, but the cards I do earn, I'm not worried about badges or things like that. You know, some people like that. It's the same for like Reddit karma. They want to post so they can get that karma because it means something.
To someone,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But so for me, I just use it to like get free games. You know what I mean? If this person wants to pay me for that, and then I pay Valve, Valve's still getting their money, so they don't care. They're still getting real money out of it. But for me, I'm getting free games out of it. Is the way I see it.
Yeah, and I think it's however they want to do it, and it works for the most part. I think Valve isn't going anywhere. Steam isn't going anywhere. It'd be nice if they did Half-Life 3 sometime before I die, but you know, whatever. But yeah, I mean, it was an odd sell. Then the awards thing was definitely diff, but I'm looking forward to hopefully December being some more sales and maybe I'll actually buy more than just one game.
Yeah, I something I wanted to point out that I just mentioned a minute ago that I wanted to mention this. The thing that stood out the most to me besides the awards about this sale is the amount of things that weren't on sale. That there were a lot of good sales, but it seems like there were less sales to me than before, and it might just be anecdotal evidence, but for me, that's I can actually see that being true just by looking at like the top 25 top selling things on Steam right now. When you go to that and you look at it right now, like the top 16 of those 25 things are not on sale, and some of them are full price games. Well, that makes sense for games like, you know, like let's see here, Watch Dogs 2 that just came out. That makes sense that that's on the top seller list. But then you scroll down far enough and you find something like GTA 5, which has been out for like 6 to 8 months now. It's still selling at full price, but is suddenly on the top sellers list. It makes me think that the Steam Awards was in its own right an advertising bit because it brought more people to Steam. That coupled with the fact that there's an autumn sale has people more open to buying things, whether or not those things are on sale. And then you get what we have here, where most of the top sellers right now aren't even sales during the biggest sale of the year so far.
Well, I think GTA was on sale for the autumn sale because I think it ended just, I want to say this morning or yesterday morning for the autumn sale for Steam.
Yeah, the autumn sale actually ended yesterday, but when you checked yesterday, and it might have been on sale for a few days, I don't know, but yesterday and the day before when I was looking at it, GTA wasn't on sale, but it was on the top seller list.
That's kind of, that's interesting.
Yeah, I was like just glancing at it throughout the entire sale, like the time the sale was going on, and there were days where, you know, the majority of the the items on it were items that were on sale, but I would say most of the days, the majority of items on the top seller list weren't items on sale, which has really stood out to me because that wasn't the case with past sales that I've found.
Yeah, past sales has always been like what's on sale, what's that like what's on that 4 hour sale? Oh, that's what it is. That's why it's up there on the top sellers right now. Or what's on sale for today? Yeah. But I mean, who knows? Maybe they hit something different with this. Maybe we'll get different promotions going. Maybe it just helps in general. I mean, obviously I know why Watch Dogs is on the top because everybody wants to play it. Give or take a lie. But it's a different sale. I'm more so less looking forward to the winter sale because I'm sure there'll be more things and it'll be better. I'm hoping. But it wasn't
Yeah,
a bad sale.
I'm more looking forward to the winter sale because a lot of the games that came out like spring and summer, they decided not to put on sale for the fall and they're just regular priced. I'm hoping by the winter sale they're thinking, oh, okay, this has been out long enough. I want to put it on sale because there's a few games I want to pick up right now, but I'm really not willing to pay the full price for them. So I'm hoping they put a few of those on sale come winter time because then the games have been out for almost a year. It's about time to go on sale.
Yeah, that's probably when I'll pick up a few more games when the winter hits. But that was the Steam sale and it was okay. Not great, but okay.
Yeah, we've had much better sales in the past, in my opinion.
Definitely. So I think that's about it. Is there anything else you'd like to add today?
Uh, Bacon.
Yeah, bacon goes good with almost everything except, well, no, I've had a bacon shake and it's actually pretty delish. But
Yeah,
yeah, I've had
bacon and
candy
cheese
bacon
make
too.
everything better.
Yeah,
Better.
it pretty much does. Yeah, yeah, it does. I'm not going to disagree with you. So, Brian, is there something you'd like to pimp out at the end of the show?
Uh, this show.
Yeah,
I,
yeah, that'd be great. You know, if we actually had some
hey
viewers.
man, go visit us on Gamers. I mean, it's new. I don't know. I really don't know. We just kind of threw this
Whoa.
together at last minute, so it's something we're trying and we're going to expand upon and make better and better. For now, I guess would say definitely follow Brandedwolf there. He's awesome. Hopefully, he starts streaming again some more. And check out my YouTube because I've been doing a lot of stuff on there. I'm trying to release more and more content at a more steady pace, and I'm really actually trying at YouTube now to give it a real try. I have a full-time job, yes, but I'm really trying to give YouTube a legitimate effort here, and I think it's showing in the quality of the videos so far. So go check it out.
Oh yeah, I've definitely noticed that you've actually been putting more content out, and so you're going for more the YouTube route, less the streaming route for yourself.
For the moment, the PC I have, it's an AMD machine, and if you know much about AMD machines and streaming, you'll know those two don't mix wonderfully. So I have issues with streaming because it doesn't, especially since it's all running from the same computer. If I could get a separate computer for just streaming, or I could upgrade this computer to an actual what I want with an i7 or something like that, then that will change. But at the moment, I'm not great. It doesn't work well with streaming. It'll either crash or just the quality's not good. So I want to focus on what I know I can do and what I can put out. And right now, I'm doing pretty good with the YouTube. I'm thinking maybe I can build an audience there and then expand upon that and never stop the YouTube, but maybe expand and also go with some Twitch content as well.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, and with me, it's like right now Twitch is probably easier for me to do just because my schedule's all over the place. Like I'm technically part time, but I work anywhere from 40 to 60 hours a week. So just picking up and go and trying to do that. That's about it. But yes, I too would like to pimp out this show. Theoretically, every Wednesday, around 5 ish, Gamers Insight will be on. Whether or not I'm hosting it or Seven's hosting it or we're both hosting it. Eventually,
Yeah,
the
I'd say we maybe do like a sorry to interrupt there. Maybe we do like we steal and rip off from Mike B and Laura, and maybe we'll just do like this time you led most of the show. Next time I can lead most of the show. Then we'll flip back and forth like they do.
yeah, no, definitely. And we'll go from there and like I'll throw this stuff up on YouTube and SoundCloud and whatever else wants to actually listen to this, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I like the idea of having a podcast where we can just get on here and talk about the things that we want to talk about as gamers. Like I mentioned, my whole concept behind Gamers Insight when I came up with it was there's a lot of podcasts out there and a lot of Twitch shows and things like that. Tailor-made content that they put themselves in a box. They come up with these guidelines and these restrictions. They're going to talk about this news or this that. So they end up covering things that maybe they're not very passionate about, or they just have to cover this certain thing, and shows get rushed, things like that. The idea behind this from me and Brandedwolf here is to just have a show where we can just talk about the things that we want to talk about, that we want to bring to the show, and give us insight on those topics, and bring on guests and things and get their insights and everything they want to talk about as well. But it's a less structured show and more just the social aspect behind gaming and just putting that out there for everyone to see.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up, I think. So stay tuned and join us next week as we find out, will anybody actually join the lobby and watch us stream? So until next time, I'm Brandon Wolf, that's 7-Bit Brian, and we wish you a good night.